Welcome to the next video in the drug searching series, this time on searching Embase. As a reminder, we discussed how to build the search that we are using in this demonstration in our previous video, drug searching research databases, and we also discussed some of the concepts about how to expand and narrow a search in the previous search in PubMed. They still apply even in the database Embase, so I do recommend that you watch both those videos prior to watching this one. Unlike PubMed, you might be less familiar with the database Embase, and it is a subscription-based database that is only provided through UK. So it is not free and open in the way that PubMed is. It is, however, one of the most comprehensively, if not the most comprehensively indexed drug and pharmaceutical databases that exists. So it is important to anybody who is doing drug searching. It is a bibliographic database similar to PubMed, so you would use it to find citations of journals, journal articles, books, dissertations, and other similar bibliographic items. Similar to our last video in PubMed, we will be using a search built off the question, is drinking cranberry juice effective in preventing or treating UTI symptoms? Below is the search that we used in PubMed, and we will be using this same search in Embase. Except, hold on. This search was designed to be searched in PubMed, and there is one kind of annoying but minimal change that you have to make before you search it in Embase. And that is that Embase doesn't use double quotes around phrases. They use single straight quotes. So if you look at all my phrases of 2 or more words, you can see that I have removed the double quotes, the traditional quotes, and added a single straight quote. Yes, this is important, and yes, I am serious that this is important. If I was doing a basic search and I copied and pasted the search that we did in PubMed with the double quotes in, it would actually search in Embase okay. But that is not how Embase is designed to search. So I really, really encourage you to get in the habit of changing your quotes in Embase to single straight quotes, because that will be important as you get more advanced in searching Embase and if you start using anything like controlled vocabulary or do more complicated searching in the future. So let's jump into searching Embase. And as always, I'm going to recommend starting at the College of Pharmacy Research Guide. You can either go in directly from the main page under Frequently Used Databases, or under PharmD. Embase is listed in a number of places under Clinical Support Tools is one of them. Because Embase is a paid database, it will probably require you to log in or at least access it with your Duo mobile. Similar to PubMed, I'm going to copy and paste my search into the search bar. And you can immediately see in the results that I get over 1,100 results. So that is significantly more than PubMed. And part of that is because Embase is so tied into being a pharmaceutical database. Another reason is because Embase has more gray literature. It has preprints and conference abstracts to a greater degree than PubMed does. So that will automatically expand the amount of literature that you get returned as well. Browsing my results, you can see that I am sorted to publication year. So I'm going to change it to relevance. And you can see that this looks like I'm getting decent results, similar to my PubMed search as well. I have limits on the left side similar to the limits that I had in PubMed, and you can see that I even have a drugs limit that is completely unique to Embase, where I can limit by things like cranberry abstract, placebo, probiotic agent. So if I wanted to compare this to a different drug, as opposed to having to build it into the search as I did in PubMed, I could simply select it here and hit apply instead. And similarly, there are a good number of age-related limits as well. Embase also has something akin to a clipboard, which is called the temporary list, where you can select items and then up here add to the temporary list. If I click into an article, I can expand a whole bunch of different information about it, including potential drugs that were mentioned in this article, potential diseases, and if it looks good to me, I can email it to myself or I can add it to my temporary list as well. To access my temporary list, I go to My Tools, and here everything is, and I can select everything, and then I can email it to myself as well. Now, there's one really powerful thing I want to demonstrate in Embase that is particularly powerful in drug searching. I already showed how you can use the drug limit on the side to add potential comparisons should you want to throw something in, and how that's cool that you don't have to actually add it to the search or build a search string. But let's say you're building a search string from scratch and you don't want to have to think up all the potential synonyms for a drug. Embase has something called Emtree, which is a controlled vocabulary. And without getting into too many details, a controlled vocabulary in a bibliographic database is a way of indexing terms or concepts in a way that makes them more retrievable by controlling the phrases that are used to describe them. So there are 1,000 ways to potentially describe using soap and water on my hands to clean them. I can say hand washing, I can say hand disinfection. But if I make sure that every single article that uses this is marked as hand disinfection, well, then it makes it much easier to retrieve them. And so that's controlled vocabulary. PubMed also has a controlled vocabulary you may have heard of called MESH, which stands for medical subject headings. Emtree in Embase, however, is just built in a way that makes it a lot easier to copy and paste synonyms and additional terms out from it to build a basic search than MESH does. And so you really don't have to worry about the controlled vocabulary or the complex part of Emtree. You just have to think about it in this case as a synonym generating machine that is really amazing for drug searching. So here I am on the main page, and I'm going to click Emtree up here at the top, navigation bar, and I'm going to start typing in Bactrim. And it's saying for Bactrim to use this, but let's select this top choice. And if I look here on the right, it has 141 synonyms for Bactrim because there are just so many different generics, different names for this drug, and it goes on forever and ever and ever. Instead of having to think of all of these, potentially, if I'm doing a really thorough search, all I have to do is just hit copy, and you can see that it says copy using OR if I highlight over this. So I'm just going to say copy. I'm going to go back to my search. I'm going to put in a front parenthesis, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to close that parenthesis, and I'm going to type and then I'm going to copy and paste the rest of our search at the end. And what it ends up with is this absolutely insanely massive search with everything with Bactrim. And at the very, 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 very end, you can see it says, and cranberry, and UTI, urinary tract infection, or urinary cystitis. So if you are searching for drugs and want to do a thorough search, this shows just how absolutely amazingly thorough Embase can be for you without you having to think of all of these terms and synonyms. It will go and it will copy them for you. All you have to do is go into Emtree. You have to just copy or paste it in, and then copy and then the tag of yours at the end. And it will build this. Because this is so much, it might be easier to do this in a Word document separately and then copy and paste it into the search bar. But in this case, it is absolutely imperative that you do change it to single quotes, or it would break the search. So you could not do double quotes here. You would have to have the single quotes. So this is just something to think about. If this is too confusing, just remember the other search worked fine. If I go back to my original search, which I can get to by scrolling down to number 1, and I look at those results instead. Remember, I can just go to drugs, and I can just also search it this way as well. This came up with 168, where my big, huge, massive search came up with 173. So there is a difference. This big search, by adding all the generics, all the extra ones, did find a few extras somehow. So that's an interesting thing to consider, to show that this was actually able to yield a few more. Just something to think about. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation. If you have any questions about anything you learned today or for the Medical Center Library, please contact us at mclib@uky.edu.